Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with Nerdarchist Ted, and we got Mikey from Zerift Gaming hanging out with us today. And we're just gonna be talking about some D&D, uh, maybe some mental health and D&D, some different. So we got some different topics to talk about. So, and as always, guys, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. Just remember GM911 or question in front of it, so we know you're talking to us. So, hello everyone, hello Ted, and hello Mikey. How you guys feeling today?
Hey, how's it going? Doing all right.
Hello, everybody.
Sweet. So we were just like pre-gaming a little bit and talking about some Dragonlance and like kind of how you got back into gaming, and which is kind of a cool story. So if you want to share that with us, feel free.
So basically, I started out at 6, and we did with 2nd edition, and it was complete theater of the mind. We didn't have anything. So when I first started, so we had to completely do it with the complete theater of the mind, and we had to make everything else we got was complete homebrew. And then I got older. When I was a teenager, I played a little bit of 3rd edition with my brother. He was into it. I played a little bit after that in college, but it was always off and on. And I didn't take it seriously until I had the source books already. I bought them with my brother, my other brother, who's probably watching. But I sadly got sent to a hospital for mental health issues, and in the hospital they wanted me to have a social activity. And they found out about this gathering, this social group called Eventually. So my therapist recommended, in the hospital, recommended that I take up D&D. And I was like, you serious? And she just takes this little prescription note, writes on it, hands it to me, and says, play more D&D.
Oh, man. Did you save that? Because that's something that I would love to actually see, where you have like a hospital or a doctor prescription that says play more D&D. That's fantastic.
I wish I did. I probably should have kept that, but it was, and I have to be honest. Playing D&D really did help with my mental health. Those who don't know. I did do a video on this, how I got in 5th edition, and I talked about a little bit of my diagnosis. I'm going to reveal a little more about it, which is it's schizoaffective, which is AKA bipolar schizophrenia. So, but I have to admit that Dungeons & Dragons really, I'm not saying it's all miracle cure. I'm not saying that. It'll differ from person to person, but it helped me through my mental health issues, and it helped, and largely because there's such a great community to it. Like they've been really supportive.
You bring up a good point, and there's a GM tips on Community with Satine and Rudy and Amy and Matt Mercer that I was watching recently, and like they were talking about the same kind of thing, that the community itself is so good that it has the ability to lift people up and bring people closer together. So I mean, that ties right in there with what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, like the community was great. I met a DM there who kind of took me under his wing, and I, for the first time in 5th edition, or first time ever, I actually DM'd, which that was a fun session. But the problem was I was too quiet, so they could barely hear me. But it was the module Shadows over Immunity, Tyranny of Dragons. I forgot which the code, but it's eventually you go against ghost pirates. It's fun.
So do you find that having like the structured group with Adventure League, do you find that kind of helps to normalize you and make you more at ease?
Yeah, I guess it does, but it's more about of a group of support. They're very supportive, and like I have shared a few people with my full diagnosis, and they accept me, yeah, and for who I am, and not who they. Yeah, they're just fun-loving people, and I just love that group. Actually, there was something I had because when I left, when I had to move, and when I left, they gave me a few gifts to remember them by. One of which was a Cthulhu dice bag that one of the store workers sewed herself.
Nice.
And the other was the last adventure I played was Sunless Citadel, which is why I love it so much. And they gave me a little gift, a little miniature they handmade of a Gothias tree.
Ooh,
ooh, that's pretty sweet. Can you hold up the bag, the dice bag again? I've got it locked on you so that people can see. Oh, nice. Digging.
Yeah. But that's also why I wear this little bracelet. It's actually called Loci, but it's basically, this is a special one. It's a special edition to represent mental illness awareness. So I wear that a lot.
Cool, awesome. I'm following you in the chat because some of them are being silly in a good way. So how did you feel about bridging from player to GM? And you also talked about running a family game too.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping this Christmas, because we're having this large family reunion, to run a family game. But a lot of my stuff's in storage, so I didn't have the access to all my adventure books. So when I won D&D Beyond, I was like, it was a dream come true, because now I can use a tool to play with my family, and it can be any adventure they choose. Though I imagine a lot of them are probably watching Stranger Things, and I don't know anyone who isn't, so they're probably go the one with the Demogorgon.
Out of the abyss, boom, done. So
the great thing about the bundle that you have is not only are you going to have access to the material, but you can then kind of share that out to the people in your game. So if they're just getting into it and they don't have any of the material, you get to share it with them, so they will have it for the breadth of the campaign.
Yeah, but
which of your family are actually gamers? Because you said in your family, like, how many are gamers?
Well, my brother was a gamer. My brother tried it. My older brother tried it. He didn't like it, but it wasn't his thing. But my family, I don't think much of them are gamers, but I do know that they do love doing things with me. So it's like, actually, funny story. My mother, which you probably heard me talk about in the chat, was originally against me playing D&D, but through mental health and watching me get better, she's kind of turned a new leaf on it. She's okay with it. And this year, she asked me what I wanted to do to celebrate my birthday. I was like, family session. And so I got her to play D&D with me. So
nice.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
So it can be done.
You essentially convinced your mom from being opposed to gaming to an advocate for it, because she's being able to witness the benefits that have basically happened in your life and your family's life due to being a gamer.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. You were talking about it earlier. We were discussing Dragonlance a little bit, and you've been working on putting together a 5e Dragonlance campaign.
Yeah, but to answer the other question about switching from player to GMing, to be honest, the first time it was intimidating, but I grew to love it, and I'm one of the few people who actually loves to DM. I really love to DM. But you probably guys are going to think I'm nuts, but eventually we we run tables for 7 players. So I run 7 players, and really what helps a lot with that is we have index cards where we fold them over, and you write the players write the character name and then stats and information, initiative, and stuff like that. Do they have dark vision? And we put it on the DM screen, and I put this little clipper when I move them in order, initiative order, and I put the clipper on each one to show whose turn it is. That actually helps a lot. But
that's a good idea. If I was more organized, I might do something like that.
So I've seen a number of different initiative tracking systems, for dealing with large groups. I'm old school, pen and paper when I DM. So I jot it down, and I've got the ability to cross off and be ready to move to the next one. It's just one of those things that dealing with large groups, once you start doing it, dealing with a small group can be just as challenging, because you're like, oh, I'm used to using bigger combats, and use bigger combats with a small party, you're going to crush them.
But on the Dragonlance campaign, it's, I don't want to give too much spoilers away from it, but it's basically, I simplified it from the last one I did, which I did do a journal about. That game fell apart. And I think I knew it was falling apart when he got turned into a silly adventure where the guys took on a bunch of wrestlers, and one of the characters was a luchador.
Well, yeah, you know where things are heading at that point. Silly could be fun, though.
It was fun.
It is not the first story I've heard of someone playing a luchador in a D&D game, so it's a pretty common thing from what I've heard.
The key with that is everyone being on the same page and playing the same game. The problem is if your players are, some or all your players are playing a silly game and the DM's playing a serious game, that's that's where there's going to be friction.
Yeah, that's always a challenge.
Yeah, I was trying to do a serious game, but I let it slide because the player wanted his character to die in a blaze of glory. So I was like, okay.
So, pipe smoking board gamer wants to know, besides D&D, what is your favorite RPG?
Oh, that would probably most likely be Force and Destiny.
Yeah, we're currently playing in a game, but we're using all of them. Actually, though, Force and Destiny of the lot is probably my least favorite. I like Edge of the Empire best. I like the kind of the hard-boiled, grittier style.
I think a gritty Star Wars game would be a lot of fun to play. Let's shove all the Force out of the way. Maybe have like a Force user as your big bad, and you've got to somehow bring him down with all the power of the Force, but you don't got it.
Yeah, I agree with Ted. Fuck Jedi.
I didn't say it that way, sir. But
it's okay, Jedi. I still love you. I'm probably just petting a lightsaber right now.
Ted always plays a Force character anyway.
Yeah.
I've yet to play.
I'm just probably petting a lightsaber. I'm just probably petting a lightsaber. It's like, it's okay. I love you, Jedi, anyways.
I like the lightsaber more than the Jedi. I like the Jedi.
But yeah, I like it because it's because I love the Force aspect of Star Wars, and I love the mystery of it, and you're exploring the mystery, and you're exploring getting artifacts, exploring cultures and stuff, which I love in role-playing games. Which is why I probably like Tomb Annihilation so much, is because you're hunting for artifacts, and it's just vibrant cultures in there.
And let's not forget dinosaurs.
Oh yeah,
and undead dinosaurs.
And undead dinosaurs spitting undead. There's so much to love, and poisonous frogs. Yeah, so
there is actually this adventure module I run for Adventure League for Tomb Annihilation, and they had these kilo frogs, the Grongs. They're basically humanoid poison dart frogs. And they're all cute. They're patting this guy, and he's like, And I want to roll insight. What are they doing? He's like, oh, you think they're going to sacrifice you?
Reminder to the chat: if you have a question, just put the word "question" in front of it, or GM911. Usually Zerift is in the chat reminding people, but he's inside inside the box with us. So
we actually do have a question from Paul, although I think it's kind of been answered. It says, do you prefer to be a DM or a player? I'm bipolar also, and I find DMing and making my own homebrew adventures keeps my mind occupied.
To be honest, I like them both for different reasons in their own unique ways, though I think I'm more partial to DMing. So, like, I love playing characters. Like, I talk about, I have these five characters that I play the most in chat all the time, and I actually did a video on them. Gosh, I did a video on a lot of stuff. But
we got a bunch of videos over there.
Yeah, but I love playing characters for characterization reasons, not really just for min-maxing. I love DMing because it's a very social activity, and I love bringing a smile on people's faces. And I love creating memories for these people. And I think that's why I'm more partial to DMing.
There are so many aspects to DMing to enjoy, or have like a favorite. One of them, like you said, is like interacting with the players at the table and telling the story with them. And then the other aspect would be more of the creation part, where people just like creating the adventures, creating the campaign world, and doing all that behind the scenes stuff. Do you find one of those helps focus you better than the other?
Yeah, well, I think prepping helps. Like, having something to do that's very structured helps out a lot. Like, I usually give myself, which you had a guest on who said don't do this, but I do it anyways, is that I take a week to prepare for the session I'm going to run. So I prep and I prep and I prep, and it gives me focus, it gives me structure, and it gives me stability.
Well, I can imagine when you deal with anxiety, issues, that being put on the spot for something that you weren't prepared for, that could be a challenge. So having more things prepared, would be helpful. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I say that's pretty accurate.
So we have another question in the chat from Pipe Smoking Board Gamer. Wants to know, have you played Numenera, and if so, what you think about it?
I'm sorry, Ted, you cut out there.
Have you played Numenera, and if so, what are your thoughts
yes,
on it?
I have. Yes, I have. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was. I forgot what I played, but it was some guy who had a metal weapon and with an energy blade at the end of it. But everyone got affected by a nanovirus, and my guy got away scot-free, so I was happy.
Numenera is still on my list, but we do actually have a channel announcement about Numenera coming up in the near future. But I don't think we can say anything more than that yet.
Yeah.
So if you guys are into Numenera, or maybe a little Numenera curious, we might be able to help you with that.
So I've played Cypher System, which is built on Numenera and the Strange. So I've seen the mechanics in the works, but I've never actually played in the setting or played the specific game Numenera.
Yeah, so I thought Numenera was. Here are my thoughts on the actual game. It was fun. It was inventive. It took a while to get used to because I'm not rolling all my dice. So it took a while to get used to the system. But overall, I had a good time with it. So I can. Yeah, I could recommend it, I guess.
It's on my list. I like the concept of the world and how it's more of a science fantasy game than fantasy or science fiction. Travis also has a question. When you when you were told to play more D&D, how did you go about finding others to play with?
The internet for Adventures League.
So you know what? We've probably covered this before, but I don't remember. Adventure Leagues, their website, do they actually have a list of places where there's game?
Yes, there is. You go to the D&D website, you go search Adventure League, and then you go to the site, and it'll tell you comic book shops and other places in your local area that you can play at.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we probably covered that when we had Robert Aducci on, because he is the community manager for Adventures League. But it's always good to reiterate and say again, because not everyone has seen those episodes. So yeah, and there's meetups like Satine and Rudy talk about. They put together Satine had put together a giant meetup, and that's how they got their D&D going on. There's Facebook groups, there's virtual tabletops like Fantasy Grounds, and also Fantasy Ground College is an awesome place to look. You can probably find some other virtual tabletops online as well. There's Facebook groups. So there's like a plethora of ways to find gaming compared to, when we were coming up and looking for a game. Like, you didn't look for a game, you just like found one, or started one.
Yeah. But,
so Ranger 1 wants to know, do you prefer rolling stats or point buy?
I actually prefer neither. I prefer standard array, so everything's even Steven with everyone. Well, technically, yeah, it's though I think standard array technically is point buy, but it's I prefer standard array because it's just simpler and since I DM and Adventures League, I had to take on a lot of new players, so I had to simplify it with standard array where you have a bunch of set numbers and one dump stat, one great stat, and it works. It works wonders.
I agree.
So, Pipe Smoking Board Game, Numenera update. Hey, please sub to my channel. If that's the case, I'll be running Numenera on the live streams in near future. So, awesome. Thank you. So you can check that out as well. And
so to me, Dave, that sounds like you got an invite there to go check it out on his channel.
I do. We all do, apparently. But the chat goes away. That's why I'm reading it aloud. And also, Pipe Smoking Board Gamer, I know you've left links in our comments, and they pretty much always get spammed by YouTube. So there isn't really any point in doing that, because any kind of link, YouTube kind of mostly just yanks it. Comrade, I thought you were getting on a ride or something, dude. He's in like this world in line for something. That's right. He's probably the live chat's going to end, and we could have done like 2 more before he gets to the front of that line, probably. But, do your players pay attention through the whole session, or they do only when it's their turn? I can honestly say, as a player, that I don't always pay attention. I'm horrible.
Sometimes I mess with my players when they don't pay attention. It's like all of a sudden your character dies. It's like, what? Like right on when they're on their phone, they're like, what? What just happened?
Actually, I don't. I actually kind of feel like I shouldn't pay attention if it's a scene my character's not in, because he would have no way of actually knowing what's going on there anyway. I'm role playing. I'm role playing. I'm not just playing on my phone.
All right, I got to read this. This is from Nerdator Doug. That's an endorsement right there. Nerdarchy live chat is better than Disney World.
Oh my God! Luckily, the chat goes away, dude. What are you trying to do to us, man? We don't want to fuck with the mouse. He's a badass.
They own all the Marvel, all the Star Wars. There's only 3 of us, dude.
Yeah, that's a lot to take on. So we have a question from Kyle Ellis, and I guess I'll read that. But in the meantime, guys, if you want to start the roll call, we can get that going on as well. Out of non-material realms, what is your favorite to interact with? Like fire, water, earth, paraelementals, the shadow realm, Feywild, astral sea, specific hell or heaven realm. So, okay, so he wants to know, not prime material plane, the different planes. What would be our favorites?
Probably Celestial Realm, because there's so much fun. You can make it like a false paradise, making everything's nothing as it seems. Like what they're like I did this video on Celestial Warlock where these like angelic beings, what their definition is good won't be your definition of good, and they probably see things for the greater good. Like they'll wipe out a whole town just for the greater good to stop a demon from being summoned. But your character may not be all right. So you can do things like that with creatures and make it seem like it's a great paradise, but it's not all as it seems.
I'm not sure if I'm using the right term, but I think they were considered transit planes, the Shadowfell and the Feywild, and even like the ethereal and astral, in the sense that they kind of all overlap and they all kind of occupy the same space. So I really dig those kind of planes, just because I feel like there's a lot of fun things you can do in your game with them.
Well, I think planar adventures are really fun themselves. Like there's so much you can do with all the planes. But if I just had to pick a favorite, it would have to be Celestial Planes. Sorry.
What about you, Ted?
So in Chimes of the Scordia, Griffin Gaff, however you want to look at it, we're really close to the plane of chaos. Whether you want to call that limbo or whatever have you, like that. That's that's where we kind of work at. But if you were to take that aside, I would think using the lower planes, Abyss and Hell and all that stuff. You can have role playing there, but you're always going to be able to have combat. Where I feel if you use the Celestial Realm, for the most part, it's going to be mostly role playing. If your characters are generally heroes, which is what I try to encourage in my players, not always going to be that, but so I don't know. I think going with the bad guys are always a safe bet.
It actually kind of reminds me, I had this fun idea for an adventure, like where they had to go to the Celestial Plane and they had to go to Mount Celestia, which you have to be lawful good to enter. And I know my players, and most of them always never choose lawful good, so they would have to sneak their way in.
See, plenty of room for conflict in the Celestial Planes. And, there's Valhalla.
So does anyone know why Bacon Press is going to be on the run from me?
I don't know. You're scary. We got Bards in the Basement in Niagara Falls. We got Todd in Dallas. We've got British Columbia in the house with Kyle. True Mate is in Wales. OZ represented by Raven. Mars Whip is in Dallas. Ranger 1 is in Sacramento, California. Doug is in Cleveland. We've got Quate in the house with Poison. We've got Boston, Mass with Acolyte 14. We've got DM Dom is in Philly, so he's like right across the bridge from us. So he's super close. Paul is in Pittsburgh. Seattle is represented by Aaron, and he's part of the FGC. Seattle in the house with Frigginator. Uncle Peter's in Toronto. We got Rio Rancho, New Mexico with Shallender. Andy is in the house from Newfoundland, Canada. We got Denver with John. We've got Bangor in the house with Jonathan. We got Edmond, Washington with Elfbait. And where are you at? There you are. We got Montana with Tucker, Santa Barbara with Sean. Fernando is joining us from from Saturn Solar System, Missouri, baby, KB. Comrade, right inside the palace in the Magic Kingdom. We've got 56 Arkansas with Josh. We've got Milwaukee with Pipe Smoke and Board Gamer. And what else we got?
Down near the bottom, Duel 810 is in Serbia, Belgrade.
So, as always, we've got people representing all over the place, which we're super grateful for. Well, maybe not so much when we're sending out things for the contest. But, hey, we appreciate all you guys, wherever in the world you may be.
Yeah. It always makes me smile how many people around the world come to this chat and this Nerdarchy community, because you guys' community also have been very supportive in my mental health in the past.
I think it was an accident, but we try.
Well, I was talking about your guys' community, but
Yeah. No, the community is great, and that is one of the things that makes doing what we do awesome. There's so many.
allow me to say thank you, guys.
I'll say,
Absolutely, man. It's our pleasure.
I will say you're welcome on behalf of the community as an ambassador. But no, that's one of the great things. Like, I would often hear people say things like, stay out of the comments. It's like the sewer system of the, of the internet. But I just haven't found that in the RPG community at all. And specifically ours has been really good. And that's because of you guys. We just come hang out and do our thing. And then you guys come and bring the goodness. So we definitely appreciate that.
Every so often we do get a troll, somebody who's just looking to, be a jerk, or, what other expletive you want to put in there. But the rest of the group, everybody, that is there, either ignores that person or, doesn't respond, and they go away, or, we get an admin to give them a kick, and everything will just continue. So we really do have a fantastic, community that's built here, and I love it.
So, and let's not forget, cam girls are huge fans of Nerdarchy. We get them from time to time in the chat. I think that's like, almost like the worst of what we get. And usually, like, the community is really good, and not just Nerdarchy, but RPG in general. Of when you do get a troll or someone who's being rude or ignorant, a lot of times, like, before we can even do anything, like, the community jumps on them. So that part is really helpful when the community is actually kind of like policing itself and making it a better place.
So I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say here, Dave, but Pipe Smoking Board Gamer's got a question. Have you, or do you ever play evil campaigns or more chaotic characters? I've always run into DM problems when doing this. Any advice?
Oh, well, I remember reading something in the campaign setting of the 3.5 Dragonlance edition. They talked about running evil campaigns, and one of the things they said was, well, you have to be careful. You don't go around killing people, because that's not what a villain does. That's what a grunt does. So basically, you're trying to manipulate people to a means to an end. So it's, you don't kill something that's going to be a means to an end, because you won't get the end if you kill the means. So I would suggest try getting the players to be encourage them to be more clever about their plans and so forth. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, we've done a number of evil games over the years, both within what Dave and I refer to as the original Nerdarchy group before we were Nerdarchy, as well as I've done stuff outside of that group, and it is always a challenge. You're gonna have players that are potentially going to turn on each other. You're going to have enough challenges in the world itself being evil. So you're spot on of having to do something that's clever. You have to do something that is going to keep you removed from the evil that's actually being done. If you, as you said, go and just start killing everything, there's going to be groups of paladins, there's going to be groups of heroes that are going to mow you down before you get to wherever it is that you want to go or get to.
Yeah.
The biggest problem I find with evil campaigns is the players build characters that are evil for evil's sake. And that's not really how it works generally, right? Unless they're truly broken, inside somewheres. But for the most part, the concept of an evil character is going to be more complex than that. They have something they want to do. They have something they're trying to fix, or a slight they want to a slight that they want to repay someone for. But it should always be deeper than I'm just evil. Well, why? What makes you evil? Well, because you have a goal and you're willing to do anything, in order to achieve it. Maybe you lack a moral compass whatsoever. So the problem is that I find in many of the games we've played is instead of making an evil character, what people tend to make are sociopaths. So, and the problem with the sociopath is you cannot have a group of them because they don't work well together. And, and if you're doing on like a cartoon scope, which is kind of what ends up happening, is it's very noisy and it creates a huge footprint in the world. And that is going to attract attention, and eventually it's going to get pulled down. If you're playing in a realistic campaign setting or world where your actions have consequences, and so if you're constantly doing things that engage these consequences, it's going to make for a very short campaign, realistically. Next level. 88 has a question for Zerift. He wants to know if you activated your Beyond yet, and how are you liking it?
I am liking it wonderfully. It has they have simplified all the adventure books are simplified. They're like this little grid you click and know what chapter you want, and it goes over and you can scroll down. And it looks like a Wikipedia page, but that's my opinion. But it's so far it's proven to be wonderful. I just can't wait to put it to test and get a family session going this Christmas.
Yeah, it does make things so much easier to use, and like we find uses as YouTubers for it a lot as well. And actually, you will too. Is when you're looking for stuff and you want to find information, it is so much faster than flipping through a bunch of books. And I absolutely love the hover cards for when I run my games from it. Right now, I'm just running the one game from it, Scarlet Sisterhood, and a lot of times I just open up tabs that I think I'm going to need during the game. And if that tab it has information that references something else, I don't even have to flip to it because there's a hover card there that I can just mouse over and get that information. So it's super convenient.
Yeah, if I ever had to nitpick, and I have one nitpick, is that they don't have a Taroka deck.
Oh yeah, in the Curse of Strahd. What?
Yeah.
They're very open to feedback. So if the Taroka deck is actually a part of Curse of Strahd, maybe there's probably a place in the forums where you can post that.
Yeah, probably will.
Unless it's there hidden somewhere, because a lot of times I know Doug is always, has been a huge advocate of theirs, and people will complain that it doesn't do this or do that, and he's like, it already does, or they say it should do this, and it's like it already does. Of us, he's actually the most versed in navigating and using D&D Beyond.
Yeah. Speaking of Curse of Strahd, I think I've run that adventure more than any of the others.
Well, yeah, you're telling us you've ran it until it fell apart, so that's
yeah.
That's saying
4 times.
Wow, that's hardcore, man.
Yeah, it's a fun adventure. I loved it, and depending on the players you get, will get you different experiences in each of the areas you go to. So, like one game, the Amber Temple may be most fun. Another game, it could be Advent Host. Another game, it could be Castle Ravenloft. Though I do have a humorous story of something that happened in Castle Ravenloft when I first ran it. Basically, of the teleporter room, right?
No, I don't. But again, we don't really use pre-ran adventures. So.
Oh yeah, but basically, you throw a stone in, and the color flame comes up. You run into the flame, and you teleport in a certain location. There's all these different stones for different locations. So one of my players grabs all the stones, throws into the fire, and it was up to me what to do. And I had a plan for this. So they all teleported, it exploded, and they all teleported in different locations all over Ravenloft. Well, over Barovia, but like one, and I had to get a wizard to teleport them back, and they were split into 2 parties of 2 within Castle Ravenloft.
Nice.
So there's a lot of love for Curse of Strahd being shared in the chat, and a number of people saying that they're currently running it and loving it. So
most people
has a specific question for you. Why do you restrict yourself to one question when you're in the chat?
Self-control. Because if
It's
I
my
didn't
fault, guys. I broke his balls one time because no one else was asking questions. And then Zerift had like a bunch. And then someone like finally asked a question. So I skipped some of his questions to get someone else's questions. And I broke his balls a little bit. And that's why he restricts him. It's my fault.
So it's self-control, because if I didn't limit myself to one question, I wouldn't be able to stop.
Shallender says, this chat along with Geek and Sundry and Hyper RPG chat are all fabulous places for chat, which, hey, thank you. That's good company to be found in. So I'm very appreciative of that.
I also found the Saber Dice Twitch chat was very friendly.
Yeah, well, I imagine so. I mean, it's our audiences, and taking 20 and Web DM and Counter Roleplay. They're like all really good places to hang out. So I imagine it's just a culmination of that.
Yeah, because and your guys are also very involved in the chat, because I remember we got in this discussion about pumpkin spice products, and it turned into this whole debate where this guy goes, "Oh, it's bad for you, it's deadly," and he keeps going, pumpkin seeds in chat, and then at the end of your session, Will just goes, pumpkin seeds.
Will is amazing when it comes to doing a stream and interacting with the chat. No, I don't think the guy's human. Like he was literally having a conversation with me and typing at the same time. So literally that means he's having two conversations at the same exact time, which is freaking freaky to say the least. Dual 18 question: what is the best third-party 5e content that you would recommend? There's a lot of good stuff out there, and right now I would say Nord Games and Kobold Press are kind of at the top.
Yeah.
As far as consistency.
All right, so let's see here. I got, Underworld Races and Classes, Tome and Beasts, Book of Lost Spells, Gods and Goddesses, Forge and Magic, Demon Cults, Ultimate Bestiary. It's just a, whole section of, third-party material up here for 5e. If I had to have one product, I'm a Monster Manual, fan. Beast is massive. So that's the direction I would wind up going.
What is it? The Magic Item book. Is that Arcanus?
The Forged and Magic Reforged?
Yeah.
Scott? Yeah. So this is, a book of just magic items separated by the type, and it's over 150 pages.
Yeah, but what's the company?
Oh, Paradigm Concepts.
Oh, Pirate. Okay, so Arcanus is the world they do. They do a living world that me and Doug played in and broke or something. There's also AAW, which was the Underdark, which they're putting out some cool things. Total Party Kill Game.
Yeah. Underworld Races and Classes is pretty awesome.
So there's a bunch. Adventure Playground is another one. We just had a review go up for their creature. What is it? Creature components on the website.
Creature components, yeah.
Yeah, by one of the newer writers, Hans, which did a great review of that product. I guess the strategist read from DM Don. Dave is a good influence. It depends who you ask.
So Doug says the Deep Magic series from Kobold Press. If I have to pick one product, I consider that a single thing since it's a series product line.
Yeah, I think they were looking for more for companies, but yeah, there's definitely a lot. Limitless Adventures Rule. So there's a lot of good stuff out, and I don't know if it's just because we're selective at what we see, or if it's just getting better. But it just seems like there's better quality content that's coming out from third party companies than there was during the 3.5 original OGL and Glut. It's also Frog God Games. They're going heavily into 5e. There's also a bunch of third parties that have been doing Pathfinder for a long time now, and it seems like they're kind of trailing off with their Pathfinder stuff and moving into 5e.
Not just third-party stuff, but I noticed a lot of games are switching to the 5e system.
Oh
like,
yeah,
Middle Earth 5e, or
there's even like a handful of like sci-fi games that are coming out that are using the 5e engine as well. And so I don't know if that's where I would go for my first choice for sci-fi, but it's you're gonna have options. If you just don't want to switch systems and want to use something you're familiar with, like there's plenty of 5e to play with.
Well, if you look at the DMG for 5th edition, it has access to the modern and futuristic weaponry. So it's a little crossover into sci-fi, challenging because and just can't deal with a laser gun unless you start off at mid-level.
Doug says Esper Genesis is dope, which that was Rich. I forget his last name, but he's also one of the guild adepts over on the DM's guild, and he did that. So there's, like I said, there is tons of stuff. I can't wait for the Tomb of Horror, which is kickstarting right now from Frog God Games. That thing is going to be massive. That's 4 monster books in one. And then also too, like when we talked about it, we forgot to mention the fact that they're also adding new monsters in addition to, taking those 4 books and putting them together. So it might be a rival for the Tome of Beasts.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to see that one. I mean, if they,
Masters and Minions is out right now. So like if you're looking for, well, it's not out, it's on Kickstarter right now, from Jetpack 7, which is going to be, your big bad at different levels and the minions that they use. So you're able to take those pieces and drop them right in your game. He also did Gods and Goddesses. So like there's so much good third-party stuff. So we got a question from Geek in Undies. So let's see what they want to know in Circleville, Ohio. My storied gaming past started with the Redbox D&D, moving to Cyberpunk, Palladium's fantasy RPG, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Warhammer role-playing, and onward. Could you share yours? So
who wants to take it first?
I'll go.
Wait, what is he asking? Do we go from beginning experience?
What was your gaming evolution?
Do you want to go first or should I?
I'll go, sure. I don't remember if I was first exposed to the Redbox or Gamma World, because it all happened around the same time, and it was from my same neighbor. Like I remember him bringing over the Redbox, and he was like 2 years older than me, and I was probably like from kindergarten age to maybe first grade, something like that. And he also brought me to a friend of his that played Gamma World. Now I know for sure that I actually played Gamma World first. It was probably only 1 or 2 sessions, and around that time I was exposed to the Redbox. It would be like another 5 years before I would actually begin gaming, and that was with first edition, and then we would move into second edition, and then like with that group we played like a session or 2 of like every system, whether it was Boot Hill, Gangbusters, Star Frontiers, Gamma World, Conan, DC Mayfair, Marvel Superheroes, the TSR game, and way more than I could possibly ever remember. But we would just like do a session of everything and make characters for everything. And then like a couple years later, I started doing some D&D stuff with people, and then as the GM, and then I started doing what would be D&D with the first incarnation of the Nerdarchy group per se. And from there we pretty much almost strictly played D&D, with every once in a while we kind of like branched out into other systems like Mutants and Masterminds, Palladium,
Don't forget about that session of World of Darkness.
World of Darkness, the World of Darkness stuff. Some some other Gamma World stuff. One of the other editions. I actually had a few of the Palladium books before I actually even knew what Palladium was. It's only in hindsight that I realized like the Robotech was Palladium and that kind of stuff. So, what do you guys? What do you got?
Like I said, I started in second edition with just a bunch of kids with nothing, starting out with nothing but our imaginations, playing D&D second edition with theater in mind, where you completely made everything up. And then we eventually evolved from that to getting some books and some dice and played with that. Then I spent a couple years off that, and then I went to third edition and playing with my brother. And then I played a little bit after college, and after that I got into D&D fifth edition, story behind that. I branched off of that and started playing other role-playing games like Force and Destiny, Numenera. Did I say that right? Numenera? Oh, okay.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, and I played other role-playing games because the guys in Venture League wanted to branch out and do other role-playing games. So that's pretty much it for me. I'm still trying to learn new games. I'm still trying to get into Starfinder. I just can't find a group.
So for me, things started off with D&D second edition, and I played with some friends in the scout troop, as well as some friends that I knew in high school. Probably like 14, 15 years old. And like after we tried D&D, like he wound up running a number of different other systems. I played Shadowrun. I played the D6 version of Star Wars. And it was like, okay, we're just going to show up in game, and whatever he felt like running is what we wind up making characters for. And then when that group kind of fell apart, I eventually just did D&D with my friends I knew through scouting. We did that for a number of years of just, whoever was going to join. Eventually, I met Dave, and Dave kind of pulled a group together of my friends, his brother, his friend, and we just started gaming. And here we are, like 23 to 25 years later, whatever it is at this point in time, and we've been gaming ever since. With Nerdarchy, we've done the Star Wars Fantasy Flight, Cypher System, Mutants and Masterminds, as Dave said, Gamma World, all the Palladium stuff. Dave's played far more games than I have, or more systems than I have, but I still think it's a good mix that we've brought to the table.
Yeah, I want to say our group got together probably in like 96, because you figure I got married in 98. I had dated your sister for 5 years before we got married, and so I'm thinking like I think we started the group like a couple years before I actually got married. It was like, maybe a year or two before we bought our first house, and we started playing there, because before that we were playing at Steve's, and the group kind of moved around and bounced around for a while before settling at my place in Woodbury, which we played there for like 5 years. And then,
well, I remember you having a conversation with me. We were on like the concrete patio of someone's backyard at one of these little rinky-dink, round tables, when you're like, yeah, I think we should do this. I don't remember whose place it was, but that's where I think it happened.
Yeah, some Morpheus place that you don't remember. Maybe it didn't even happen in this dimension. It could have been somewhere else. Did you ever think of that? Yeah, it was probably a family get-together. Because I imagine you, most likely.
Yes, pipe smoking board gamer. Dave is my brother-in-law. He married my sister.
Yes, and no, our wives don't game. Our wives don't game. Ted used to think his wife gamed, but it turns out she tricked him.
She was a gamer. She was a gamer's girlfriend, not a real gamer.
She was a fake gamer, girl, not in the sense that she that she wasn't really there to game, and more so in the sense that she convinced Ted she was a gamer.
Well, she had two characters that she would reference, and it was always like, oh, well, we got this, we've got that, and as more and more of these stories came out, it was always like, wait a second, your DM let you do that? Oh, well, I was dating him at the time. I'm like, oh, geez. But she's still got some some gamer tag to her, because we LARPed together for a number of years. That's actually where I met her. So she's just not heavily into the tabletop stuff.
And my wife is not a gamer at all. She's actually horrible at gaming of any kind, because she is not a good loser. Like Mario Kart in my house, lakes of blood. It is like it can give you brutal.
All right, so I think. Oh, go ahead.
And again.
Okay, so I think we have time for one more question, and I think it's a good one.
Right.
It was from KB. What is your most memorable magic item or spell that you have created, and what impact did it have on the game?
Oh, created. Well, for me, I think it would be it was an item I created for a friend. The game never finished, so we never fully got to see it evolve, but it was basically called the Sword of the Sun, which was basically a sword of Salamia. It was based on AD&D items, where it has a +1 to enemies and a +3 to skeletons. But as the game progressed, it would upgrade to, say, a Sun Sword when they hit tier 2, or it would upgrade to a Holy Avenger when they hit tier 3 or 4. So that would probably be my favorite, because it's such, and I feel kind of sad that I never got to finish the game to use that. To implement that, because I don't know. Do you think that was too powerful or something, or?
That actually reminded me of like one of the magic items I created that I had given to one of Ted's characters in our AD&D game originally, and it was a silver longsword that was a +0/+3 weapon. So it was it wasn't technically magical for most of the time, but it was +3 versus undead, and it was the same thing. Like, to fully unlock it, he had to slay a vampire lord, and then it was, the idea was eventually it was going to be an artifact level weapon. Just he wasn't going to be able to access it for a while.
I think I was going to have it unlocked by having him do series of quests to unlock it. Like when he reached tier 2, he would have to do a certain quest to unlock it, to upgrade it, and then do another quest at like tier 3 or 4, like to upgrade it further. So it's like it's not like I'm just giving it to him. He has to earn it.
Well, I like stuff like that anyway, because then your players can get attached to a thing, and it's like, oh, do I keep this thing I've gotten attached to, or do I swap it out for the better thing I just got? So it is kind of nice to do weapons, or items at level.
So I actually would have put as most powerful item that you created, Dave, would have been the cloak in your Shattered Realm game, because not only could that thing have abilities, offer protections, but it allowed me to go intangible, which developed into a whole fighting style for my character. When you've got a raging bugbear barbarian that goes inside of monsters to get, quintuple crit damage, because that's what that system allowed for. It was literally just disgusting. It had the ability to, not for a lot, but it could also heal. The great thing about the cloak is it was chaotic. So if you start, like, if you go too much to a pattern or start being too lawful, it stops working for you. But of all the magic items I've played with over the years, like, that to me speaks out as the most powerful or most interesting that has been at the table.
Aaron Mark's question: would you consider making PDF 5e items that level handbook. We're actually talking about doing some stuff. 2018, guys, keep your eyes peeled for stuff coming from Nerdarchy. We definitely have some plans. Shallender had also said something. Yeah, and I actually agree with this a lot. So I'm going to just address this real quick before we get out of here. Ted has to go back to work. Sure. I've seen gamer girlfriends that have leveled into gamers, and that's absolutely true. And that's why I actually oftentimes I actually kind of argue with that myth of the idea of a gamer girl, or even we also see it with like the celebrity gamers and people that are just trying to some people accuse them of just trying to use D&D as to further their career, which to me seems like a really horrible way to further your career anyway. There's probably way better ways of doing it, but like my point is, it doesn't actually matter how you come to the hobby. Exposure to the hobby is exposure to the hobby. Whether you get into it now or not, you at least know what it is. You'll have an understanding of it, and maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't. But I don't really care, because for every and this could be a gamer dude as well as a gamer girl, is for every however many come to the table because their spouse drugged them or because they just wanted to be where their spouse was, a certain amount of them are just going to be like, you know what, I actually like this thing, and they're going to get into it, and a certain amount of them never will. But that's okay, because at least they know what it is, and you never know, like maybe they'll get exposed to it, and then later on in life they'll bump into it again, and it'll stick that time. But if nothing else, it's their awareness of this hobby has increased, and that means the awareness of the hobby as a whole has increased, and it helps grow the hobby. The more people that know about it, so I'm happy for anyone that comes to the hobby. I don't really care how they get here.
Absolutely.
So with that, guys, I want to thank everyone for hanging out. Zerift, thanks for coming on with us. We appreciate you, buddy, being in like every single live chat, and also go check out his YouTube. There are links to it, Zerift's YouTube and Twitter as well. You can find that. So keep making videos, keep playing D&D, and keep spreading the good words. So until next time, guys, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.